Welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blankenship, joined with my co-host, Josh Carmichael Environmental, and many other hats that he wears. And obviously, he's been burning the candle at both ends. So we were off last week because I was too busy and Josh didn't feel good. So we apologize for the inconsistency in the regular
programming.
Regular programming.
Back to your regular programming.
But life just happens sometimes, and it was just one of those weeks. And so I look at you and it doesn't look like you got very much rest. You were supposed to by taking the show day off. But life just continues, huh? That's one thing we can guarantee, that the world does just keep spinning. Sometimes it feels like it's off its axis. Sometimes it feels like it's kind of like jumping up and down instead of just spinning round and round, but it's just, I think, what it is, really. It was
just a good weekend. It was bright and sunny.
Weather is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you how
went to the
grateful.
beach. Yeah, I went to a swim meet. Partied hard at the restaurant, so we had a good weekend.
I was in Bakersfield yesterday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
maybe too hot.
It's really sad, to say about Bakersfield, right? Everybody does that. Everybody says, you want to be from there, not live there, kind of thing. I'm grateful I don't have to choose to live there, right? But I'm also going to give the people that do live there, kudos, because, they know it's a crazy world. Why is it crazy? Because it's not necessarily the cleanest air. It's not necessarily the cleanest soil. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of infrastructure.
They've been using it all up.
But there's a lot of opportunity that goes unspoken in Bakersfield. And I'm also going to be that person that we went over for the day for an activity that my son and husband wanted to do. And I just love spinning anytime I can when I get to be with those boys. But I haven't been to the valley, right? The valley is the Central Valley for all the ones that are listening outside of our area. I haven't been to the valley and had the air that clear and it be that beautiful in a really long time. I go to the valley often, like we go snowboarding or go to the mountains in the wintertime, and then, hang out with friends in the summertime. But also too, 90% of our fruits and vegetables of our country come from there, right? So why would we talk bad about the valley, right? But yesterday, as we're driving over there and talking about the cost of fuel, right? We can't be in California right now without talking about the cost of fuel. Good friend of mine in downtown LA just sent me a picture for the Chevron. Yeah, none of us can afford Chevron gas anyways, but they have $9 a gallon on their sign in downtown LA right now, guys. So just to put that in perspective, as we're driving over there, and I'm realizing that Bakersfield is one of those places that still has oil refineries, that still has oil being pumped out of the ground, right? So yeah, it's got that kind of situation going on over there, but it's still the most minerally rich soils in the world. Think about the amount of food that is still coming out of the soil. But as I'm driving over there, I've never seen it so clear, you guys. Okay, so you go to the mountains, you go to Fresno, right? We're going to China Peak, we're going to Dodge Ridge, and then if we have time, we go to Tahoe. But you're driving to Bakersfield, and you can see mountains with snow all on the peaks and the tops of the mountains surrounding Bakersfield. Do you know how long it's been since I've seen that? And how much snow? Like, as you're driving into the valley, it is so white that, the smog is not blocking it. Like, you can see the mountains. And yes, the trees are still dormant and or the orchards that are still there. And yeah, you're driving a little bit further into it. You see the pistachios, but you see all the fields that used to be almonds are now piles of mulch chips. And then you drive a little bit more that used to be cut flowers, and it's all tilled under, and there's literally nothing there. But then you drive a little bit more, and you can see them prepping for probably either cotton or tomatoes, maybe. But it's crazy to me is just to still think of how we talk like that about Bakersfield or the valley, right? And yet, why aren't we doing more to preserve it and to take care of it? And then at the same time, yes, LA, $9 a gallon at Chevron. Yes, it's probably like $7 everywhere else, right? Because Chevron is usually that much more. But guys, the price per pump, our farmers are paying that too. There's no incentive or discount, and yes, we've had this last 10 years of movement towards alternative fuels or a natural way of fueling things up, but
electric,
that doesn't work. It hasn't worked. I got to play with a little bit of electric tractors. Yeah, that was not efficient whatsoever. If we're going to pay the driver by the hour, that was going to spend most of its time charging the tractor instead of actually operating the tractor.
Some of our biofuels, it does make sense when you can make your own fuels regionally. So I know some of our like mustard crops, they've been doing more, diesel with and stuff. That it's always about doing things regionally and figuring out what it is.
When you drove on Main Street, did you see the cost of diesel?
I forgot to look. I don't look.
It's over $6.
Stay ahead of it.
I think it's $6.60 right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost evil.
Yeah. No. It's insane. And at the same time, that's what I'm saying. Who uses diesel? Trucks, tractors. Everything that we need to be able to produce food,
we use
to be able to produce construction, infrastructure. But let's talk about the cost of fuels, because at the same time, we've had this huge movement of our communities trying to look for alternative fuels, right? And we had this huge incentive to go electric. Has anybody looked at their PG&E bill lately? It's insane, right? Like, it is insane. Yours went down?
I'm way more efficient. The day's warming up, so I don't have to turn on the electric heater. I don't have to turn on the AC yet. It's always going down, but I did notice they changed the way it's
structured.
Yeah, it's structured now, and you're gonna have peak, off peak, on peak.
Yeah, they're not giving energy away for as cheap as they were.
No, and it's not the fact of giving it away, but then there's also the 3CE that we have in this community that is a nonprofit that is supposed to be managing the way that power is distributed, yet PG&E still distributed. We have no competition.
There's no extra middleman.
There's no other middleman. It was just another added layer to our cost of what we're doing, right? Somebody else felt like they needed a paycheck, so they attached themselves to a PG&E bill. Yes, I'm saying it because this is ridiculous. And this is what I'm saying. So I have this huge amount of friends, again, I talked about this about 3 shows ago, huge amount of friends that are doing whatever they can right now to get out of California, okay? And I agree on it. They're going to places like Tennessee, Texas, no income state tax kind of places, right? Places that land is not the cost of California, right? So that they can still farm, they can still produce, but they're starting to quickly realize that things are different than they, go into those states than they are. But at the same time, I'm also saying, why wouldn't somebody move to Bakersfield and clean it up and put more soil in there? You know what I mean? We're all trying to, I
have a huge plan for the valley, how to fix the valley.
Right?
I would love to see it come together. The land
is still affordable. The land is still worth saving. The land is still, there's nowhere else in the world that can grow and produce the amount of food that the Central Valley can do. Yes, it's still California, and I get this whole taxing, but why are we having the problems that we have? We have people that are in charge who are not being held accountable to the positions that they hold. All of us are so busy in our lives trying to stay afloat, trying to survive, trying to keep things going, trying to raise our children, trying to do the right thing, right? But yet there's so many people that are just like, I'm out. But yet when you're out, you're not grounded. So it's going to take you a while to go get grounded somewhere else, right? You're not going to be able to have resilience or kind of this resilience of protecting yourself with what's going on there, right?
Yeah.
But what is it going to take for us to be able to rebuild it here? Mm-hmm. And yes, okay, so San Luis Obispo County, this is a good example of us business owners and what we deal with beyond regulation, but I'm just going to give a little snippet. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple pieces of equipment at Crescent Valley Meats that I needed some specs and some material on to keep them running, right? And to be able, and I needed a service person, but literally I called the manufacturer who's back east. They said, okay, where are you located? And I said, Crescent, California, San Luis Obispo County. And they're like, oh, those 3 counties in California are black zones. And I'm like, what do you mean black zones? And she goes, we don't have anything there for
To
you.
deliver.
Yeah, she goes, I don't have a service person. And I go, and to be honest with you, I don't want to ship anything into your county. And I said, why? And she goes, it's too expensive. And I said, and she goes, can you go to Fresno? And I said, sure. I'll go and contact some customers, take some product there to them, pick up my product and bring it, or my part and bring it back. But can I pick up one of your service guys and bring him back too? And she said no, because that is not even cost effective. Even if they charged us the true value of him or her to come in to fix it, it's just not worth it. They've literally deemed us a non-service area. And I'm like, how long has this been going on? She goes, literally in like the last 3 years. We used to have companies in your area that we could service, and we had this like system of,
Billing.
yeah, system of support, right?
Yeah.
Like we could go support them, they're supporting us. She goes, the amount of people that don't pay their bills in your county, and then also she goes, all those businesses are closed up and gone now. They're not even there anymore. So you're like the last of the Mohicans. And I'm like, okay, that is crazy to me that we can't even get service on our equipment anymore because there's not enough of us going around to make it worth somebody traveling over here 2 hours to fix our equipment.
We get so much stuff vended, and we're like right at the limit of most places, and we're between the north and south hubs, San Francisco and LA, and we're out on the coast. We're not on a major artery, so it's a lot longer. But it's so interesting because that's such a double-edged sword, And here we are yesterday. I was at the beach all day with my family, and hanging in the water. Then met some friends at the pier and hung out down there. And it's just somewhere where just money can't even buy what that is. And you got to love, your sense of place or have a sense of place and love where you live. And so anyone who wants to complain, they're just going to go live in another area and complain. I don't know what these fucking people think. Like, oh, California, this and that. And it's like,
bad word.
Well, it's like, fuck you, like, excuse my language, but like, what the fuck is your problem? You're going to complain no matter where you are. So either be part of the solutions where you are or go somewhere else, and that's fine. California is one of the best places in the world as far as geographical, just variation that we have. We have a little bit of everything.
Obviously, I poked the bear.
Well, I'm going to say that
You poked the bear.
we have problems because we're dragged down by the rest of the country. California is not a problem to the rest of the country. The rest of the country is a problem to us.
I'm going to disagree with you.
And so those people, really drag on us all the time, take our money, put it into programs and things that we don't need to be investing in. But like you said, at the same time, we're beholden to this national system. If California was its own country, we wouldn't have the leadership we have because they wouldn't be able to make it the way they do. They're able to weight this country down and try. You're right. In a way, California is trying to become a problem to the rest of the country because they don't like the direction the rest of the country will drag us into. So California is pushing a lot of regulation, other things that other people don't. And it's harder even for people to get their licenses transferred, no matter what it is. But that is part of the reason that we are so isolated. And that's one of the beauties of San Luis Obispo County is that we are isolated from the rest of the state, and we don't have a ton of people here. The problem with the valley is that they got overrun by the years. They dropped their groundwater table. The land has subsided 50 feet in a little more than 50 years. So the practices that are put into place have almost completely ruined this precious resource of the entire continent, And so people are like, oh, we don't want to change because we think A plus B equals C. When we know that nature is more exponential. If they want to solve anything over there, all you have to do is get every rancher and farmer. They're in the same clubs. They go to the same neighborhoods. They live, tight. They need to do integrated cropping because otherwise they're never going to make it with just all these monocrops with pistachios, then grapes, then cows. The cows have to run through the fields in between the trees, and you grow the alfalfa between the trees. You don't have an alfalfa farm over here monocropping and wasting water when you have all the cows over here that need to eat it. So now you're adding fuel to the cost when you don't even need to add fuel to the cost. So there's so many things where the problem is the solution. Everyone wants to complain about what things cost. They don't do anything to solve the issues by not driving as much. That's one of the most beautiful things I've done to my life. I barely drive. I'm on the same tank of gas. I was lucky to make it up here. This is as far as I go anymore. once a week. And so if you can localize and regionalize your resources, it's always going to be more cost effective. When we try to import people and services and parts from LA and these other places, yes, it's going to be more expensive because you're adding all
I'm
of
saying
that cost.
I would pay the cost, but I can't even get it.
Yeah,
so
well,
in the example of this, and I'm going to tell you honestly, like I laughed that you're that heated about it, because at the same time you can speak like you do.
Yeah.
But what are you doing yourself to make that change?
I just told you.
But I get that you're not driving. But in business, let's talk business.
Okay, let's talk business. Absolutely.
Talk business, because this is personally in my home. Yes, we make all of these changes and accommodate everything that I am against, right? Like, and I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to make the difference. I'm telling you, I'm not leaving California. I would rather be without than ever leave California. But I'm telling you, there is a huge amount of people that are just leaving because they cannot afford to stay where they are.
Well, because they're doing the wrong linear equations. Yeah, you can't afford to go A plus B equals C. That doesn't last. It's not how the universe works. They have to add the social component. They have to add the environmental component. And when people don't want to follow those things, then yeah, it's going to cost you more money because you're not connected. We do so many things connected to our community. I was just talking about you today.
I think you need to go to work for immigration.
I would do anything.
Because that's honestly that's what the biggest thing about immigration is.
Yeah, that's like bringing workers from farther away than home instead of having your kids work there. But I make my kids work. They have jobs. I think
I know, but that's the concept, is that they came here because the opportunity was not there for them. So that's why they had to migrate.
Well, this was always part of that country. So how do you lose all of a sudden all this territory and just be like, well, I guess they're all going to fit down in one space? Like, people move around, I get that. But when we're trying to talk business, I think that having more localized businesses has been great. Either you go to one corporate group and you have them ship stuff in from far away, or you go to smaller businesses and you have each other, supported neighbor versus neighbor. Like I had, wines. Can I go to Costco? Can I buy a bunch of stuff through a big corporate conglomerate? Yes. Will it be a good price? Yes. Does it have some of our local vendors there? Yes, but at the same time, I could go through my local wine vendor and we could have a whole great time and becoming friends. We're like, hey, let's change numbers. You come to my events, I'll go wine tasting with you. Let's find the best wines that we could bring to our people here at the best price. So now I got better wine price locally than I did from the corporate.
Let's talk about Carmichael, because your food world is new to you.
Well, I've been in it since I was young. So I did food and then I did
buying and selling and moving and serving food to people.
The vendors I've been working with has been a new journey compared to my vendors I've been working with for 25 years.
I'll talk to you about that in a year. And then and I guarantee you it'll be different. I promise you. I've told you this. You're talking to a seasoned person who was like avid about building infrastructure and keeping things regional instead of outsourced. Right? But when you have a PG&E bill that needs to get paid, that was only supposed to be about $900, but because of new fees, it's now $1,500. That's like random. Just like how he was just saying, yeah, my PG&E bill's lower, but it's different because the way that they just changed the structure of it, right?
Yeah, randomly. Small users are going to be less.
Whoop, there it is, so you have things that you have to pay, right?
Yes.
So, and then you have customers that are going to come in and demand that you have, and you're educating, but they don't hear it. So what do? You got to pay your PG&E bill. Did I settle for something? No, I had to go outside of my comfort zone and go a little further because I couldn't do it here regionally, because the same things that I'm experiencing in business in order to keep things going is the same other groups of people and businesses that I was supporting are feeling the same way. They cannot afford to supply the locals because the locals are not willing to support it because they can't afford it. And so, and at the same time, they're saying they don't want to get away from the land, but they don't have any other choice. They can't afford the land that they're sitting on. Even
they could grow something different? You don't think they could change their practices and find a way?
They have been. The example that I'm using right now, they have been, Josh. They have been trying to hold on to this business for at least 15 to 20 years. Right? They have been trying to do it, and it's not there. And yes, I agree with you. I don't want them to leave. I don't want them to have tourism.
They can't have tourism. They can't have dinners there. They can't increase their bottom line some other way.
Ask them what their last quote for liability insurance to have tourism on their farm. Look at the new regulation for farm stands. You can't just open and have people on your agricultural zone land anymore. I here right now I'll talk to you about general liability. I can't stay here unless I have a general liability policy on this place. I'm getting dropped again for the third time in 4 years. And why? Because insurance companies don't want to cover small business. Yes, there's a good chance.
They're not from here. That's a big case in point of a big corporate thing not covering us.
But at the same time, you're passionate about something that sounds like it could be so easy. But this has been multiple years of layers of change that people were not paying attention. Yes, I'm sitting here telling you I've been paying attention. I'm telling you California in itself. I'm not talking federally. The feds are a whole nother ball of wax. And I could talk to you about that one too, but I'm not going to. California has been continuously layering upon layering upon layering of destruction.
And you think we're not getting enough back for it?
No, not at all. And I don't. And I honestly,
should be higher taxes equal higher services, but are we not getting our roads or sidewalks?
We have too much corruption happening. There is no accountability. There is no follow through. There is no sense of where did that dollar go.
Like, you're saying administrations want to get rich on big government.
Exactly.
So the more government they could put in, the more positions, the more money can stay in there.
When government is making $700,000 a year to push regulation, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, to the victor go the spoils. That's how I remember James Madison said, like the framer of the Constitution, that self-interest is the engine of government. So whoever gets in charge, I mean, you even look at that at the national level.
And that's
people run their own programs.
All the ones that are willing and understanding what is really going on with government, we're so bogged down trying to hold on to anything and everything that we build because we know that if we don't hold on to it, we're going to lose it and we can't rebuild it again, right? Like, you walk away, you're not rebuilding this. You don't pay attention to that PG&E bill and paying that PG&E bill, you're not getting it turned back on, okay? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get your passion and I respect you, but I'm going to tell you wrong in so many levels because it is a state thing. It is a local thing. And it is because it's easy to say all that. And there's a lot of people saying the same thing you are. But they're not doing anything to change it. And the reason why I'm saying is talk to them about the way that they purchase their dollar. Talk to them about the way that they purchase their health care. Talk to them about how they thought buying this house that they were going to be able to afford working at Amazon and selling to Amazon, that they were going to be able to afford that house. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much. Yeah, but that's a bigger thing than the state, like people investing in Amazon and then trying to live here. Like, a lot of things that are at odds with each other. And I don't mind buying from companies that are from Santa Barbara, from LA, from, the state. I mean, there's foods I would buy from, internationally, and things. And I think that we have to be more accountable as a whole. And I think that you're right. There's different ways, and especially like politically speaking, that each side really has to, give up because it's this two sides of the same coin where they'll take your money either way. But nobody's going to give up until the money is diverted, Josh. And each side is still getting paid. And again, this is what I'm saying. You and I are friends. We can sit here and debate this and go back and forth and know that at the end of the day, we're going to walk out of here as friends. But I'm still going to tell you I disagree. Sure. But that's what I'm saying. So many people within this community are so quick to judge or so quick to assume that they're one side versus the other instead of actually looking at the big picture going, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to survive, support, afford, carry on, rebuild, build into something, hold on to something. Like, it's crazy to me. Again, I'm going to go back to this because it's true. That there's all these people that are celebrating a new business, right? Or a business that's sold to their employees, and they're so excited about the business selling to their employees, right? But nobody's talking about the fact that the employees themselves are financed now to the hill. The original owners were not. They had a little bit of loans here and there, right? But now the new employees, in order to keep their They're starting at such a high cost point. Yes. And yet, the reason why the original owners were getting out was because the cost of doing business was too hard. Yeah, and compared to where they started. And they wanted free time. They knew if they didn't get that free time, they weren't going to be able to continue.
The quality of life.
Yeah, the quality of life.
Worth it more. The social line was worth more than the economic
They weren't
line.
in debt at all, to the extent of the new owners, right?
Sure.
So they were complaining there was not enough time or hours in the day to be able to keep that business going with no debt. Now the new owners, right, are taking on this debt, and now the fuel cost. When fuel cost goes up, the cost of doing business goes up all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm saying. Now their cost is even higher, but they have to make a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
They have to make a loan payment.
They have to find innovation.
Exactly.
That's where commerce gets pushed. Like you push from one building to another to make your bottom line meet, right? So like there is innovation within your own business, but being forced and pushed there is like a predator versus prey thing. And I think you're right. When people want to go and fight like kind of left and right and where the money ends up at the end of the day, it's not right because it's really between rich and poor. Mm-hmm. And that gap needs to be, shortened. And so with the elites and the masses, you're taking so much money out of communities and putting it places where they cannot access it anymore. So my thing about localizing power and control is to get more access and inclusivity to the people so that we can now find the time to hold the whole accountable, like the government. Because if you got to fight the government and run your business, like nobody has time for that. The things are getting laid onto you, but we need to be able to have a voice and be like, guys, you can't just keep taking from us this way. And the middle class are the people that get pulled from both sides.
But
so
the thing
heavy.
is, you talk about elites or you talk about money at the top level. You realize it's really easy to do, and that's diversion of funds, right? Don't support something that you don't agree with, right? But at the same time, I'm telling you, a lot of people are talking like you are, but are supporting everything by the way that they shop, whether it be for their food, their mental health, there was a group that I was gathered with this last week, okay? I could not believe how many young people getting ready to graduate from poly, or actually, I had already graduated from poly, that the amount of trauma that had gone on in this group, okay? But at the same time, it's kind of the world that we're living in. But having side note conversations with these people and listening to them and their expressions of, I went to Cal Poly for this. It wasn't what I, thought it. Yeah, I'm working at this because that was kind of the only option that I have. I'm like, but what about the debt that you just accumulated for that education? Yeah, I know. I don't know how I'm going to pay. And it's like this blow off. But they think that there's this a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? That they're just going to find something, right? They're not working for it. They're not seeking for it. But they think because they have a job that they're working for it. But
they're sort of privileged, this younger generation.
Yeah, but they don't
privileges maybe we didn't have at that point.
And I'm like, how did Cal Poly market to them that they were going to come out like being able to work with plants, being able to farm? How did Cal Poly accumulate so many humans that are now graduate or getting ready to graduate that don't have anything but debt?
Yeah.
Like, think about this. You see,
I talk about it a lot. So, I understand the moment. Yes.
But at the same time, now we go back to how many people I know that are employed that think their boss owes them more than what they're willing to work for. Okay? All of us are dealing with that right now.
Every kid I know that works for me, it's always just like, can I get a little bit more? Everyone's just like, is there a little bit more you can give me? I'm like, damn, bro. Like,
but they can't even read
minimum wage is like $20 or something.
But they can't even read their pay stubs. Yeah. Okay, so there's that, right? Look at it's
all the time.
All the time, right? They have no idea.
They don't have accountability for what they should be making.
Have you not seen your pay stub since you got hired? Nope.
Yep.
Well, even claiming the right thing.
Okay, can I get a raise? Okay, what am I raising you to, or what am I raising you for? I throw that all the time, and the reason is because what have you done more for this company or your job that you feel? Well, I've been here for 6 weeks. That's what I'm getting, and then how much do you get paid right now? And I asked them, well, shouldn't you know that? I'm like, I can look on the books too, but shouldn't you be able to tell me how much you get paid? Do you know how many people don't even know how much they're getting paid and how they get paid? Yes, Miguel?
I got one for you. Healthcare versus not healthcare, right? Can they afford healthcare, or can they make a wage to be able to afford healthcare?
Right.
So when somebody's asking me, like, I need to get a better job so I can afford healthcare, and I'm like, so what's the hourly number you need to get at?
$75,000 a year income. So that,
afford it, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know that number.
Yeah. Did you know that? Yeah.
more or
It's
less. I don't deal with a lot of that.
What does that turn out hourly? Like the
75,000 is,
something?
yeah, $35 an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, what college education right now, not going to work for a nonprofit, but what college education right now would pay $35 an hour? You know? And that's,
My oldest is going to go into healthcare because I think, she's seeing that avenue. So like going into the trade, and immediately and finding a program, that's a couple years you can get out and get your money and have skills. And I think that, there's so much compounding right now. We always talk about that. And that's why I just kind of, flew off a bit about the specific thing. I was like, well, because I'm just sick of it. I'm just so bloody sick of it, dude. You come find me, I don't care. But it's just, like you said, who can complain about these things when they're not really willing to take accountability and change what they're doing? I don't care if your business can't make it anymore the way it is. Change your business.
Well,
do something beyond.
How about
Go
this?
to Sacramento.
Let's go back to that pay stubs,
Let's do
right?
something.
So pay stubs, right? Mm-hmm. People don't realize how much of that federal income tax or that state income tax. Here's your hating government, right? But then at the same time, how many people know where that federal income tax money goes, where that state income tax goes? What is SSI? I laugh at my mother-in-law and my grandmother. My grandmother's finally getting ready to retire from her full-time job at the age of 91, right? She's been paying into SSI for her whole career, okay? Yes.
How are they going to pay her back?
And how about this? They're telling her still that she can't make very much money or she's going to get taxed. At 91 years old, why is she still getting an income tax, right? Like, does any of this make sense? No, it doesn't. State of California is worse. So I'm just telling you, it's crazy to me. If you're going to sit here and we want to rebel or we want to do something different, right there is when I would do anything for people to learn how to read their paychecks and be able to tell me where that federal income tax is going, where that state income tax is going. Just those. I mean, there's 4 other lines in that mix, right? But at the same time, people right there need to make that change, because how do any of us have a voice when over 35% of our income, every paycheck, is lost to a no voice and no accountability and no trace and track of where that money is going and how it's being used, right? We can sit here and we can argue about this program and that program and why we're being charged for this and why we're being charged for that. But yet, the basic every single day thing that all of us do, and the biggest thing, why do I want to be a business owner? Because I get to pick and choose how I make my money and how I spend my money, right? It's a nightmare, and it is hard, and I have to hustle every single day, 365 days a week, in order to survive.
It's a lot of days a week.
It is. I have to. If I even on Sunday, I'm in the back doing orders, managing a website, trying to get stuff done. It doesn't end, and I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. But
No,
at the
you get
same
your
time,
days off to ski
I
on
am literally
Tuesdays.
living that life of saying, I don't want to be those people that have to leave, but I understand why they are, Josh. I know exactly what they have done, how much money they have spent. I know everything, and I know how hard it is. But when you're at the point where you're going to foreclose on everything because you can't afford a basic fuel in your tractor or PG&E, or you can't turn your refrigerators on to harvest your next crop, or now we're dealing with all these guys that had farm labor contractors on contract. They've been paying everything. And then 5 years ago, we had the H-12 program kick in, and they all signed up for that. They got one round of workers, and then that was it. But they still had to pay into that federal program 5 years ago.
Yeah, way too much regulation, and it's hurting commerce.
And now we don't have anybody
commerce hurts nature.
picking.
And so if we really want to be, I'm just saying, if we want to be more holistic, we want to get out of this conversation that you're having, because we don't even need to have it. It's a waste of time. Do people know how to pick acorns here? Do people know how to fish? Do people know how to hunt? There's so many more things that people could be doing here to make their income and their whole entire life and bottom line better, that we have to really start at the base. We cannot afford to play these games anymore of this, group mix is paid this much percent in tax, and these people cut our tax and do that. The whole tax thing is a scam. That is not real life. You have to be able to fight through these regulations. And California, you're in an uphill fight. In other states, you have less, but they also have less resource and value. They can't farm 365 days a year like we can. They can't do things that have. They don't have an ocean. They don't have things that make bountiful places.
That's what I was talking about. Going, why don't they move to Bakersfield? Because then at least then they can come to Pismo like all the rest of the Valley people.
Yeah, then you're only driving 2 hours instead of flying somewhere and putting fuel there.
Why would you move to Texas, the middle of Texas, when you can live in Bakersfield? And at least it's
looks
beautiful.
like the middle of Texas.
It does, and it's beautiful. But
on a clear day, you got mountains.
You got mountains, and you got still good people.
And you're close to the coast, and you're close to the mountains.
You come in and hang out at nature's touch. But at the same time, where I was
more people producing here. I mean, smaller producers and having more entrepreneurship will always lead to a better economy share. There's no way that if you put the money in the hands of the corporations or the government, that they're going to be able to manage it because they're so big. They waste more money than we make. And that's where the argument always comes from. But how do we just look at money as another part of our portfolio? How do we diversify our portfolio of investments so that we are talking about clean air, clean water, clean food, and sharing? And I think there's a lot more commodity that we could pass to each other. They just started changing some of the cottage industry laws about having, food at home. And in Cuba, my buddy was visiting, was talking about like how there's all these paladars, and everyone will just be like, hey, go to this Tia's house and she makes the best, arroz con pollo or something,
And that's how we were when we were younger.
So we need to bring that back to our communities and our society if we're ever going to be civil. We can't have these conversations about money. Money is not civil. It is the root of all evil. Money is only for people you don't know. We trade things. We do things. We talked about you giving people sides of beef. I mean, we have to start living life more fully.
We need to go back to
and not stop complaining. We need to just live it. And we need to do it every day. And that's the one thing that I've loved about being more localized. It's allowed me to interact and do business with all the friends and people that I know and love. Someone could come take care of my garden. Someone could come work for me, at this business or that business. And we can trade, resources and economy. And I think that's what we have to say. If we really want to talk about real costs in the world, in this country, everything that humans are doing to this beautiful place, it functions on its own. There's already an economy there. And when you're somewhere, like maybe it's because I was at the beach all day yesterday in the water. I was getting my medicine by putting salt water in. I probably wouldn't sound half as good as I would. I really needed more salt water in my life right now.
He's still got power behind that voice. I was like, yeah.
But anyways, I just think that again, we have to open the conversation exponentially. We cannot do these linear equations and win. And I think if the Valley really wants to do something, I was saying, you intercrop everything. All the farmers take a share of what they all own together. You run the animals in place on the alfalfa crops, underneath the tree crops, and you let the whole thing flood every year because it was a lake. This was naturally a lake with, tule elk, everything. And it was, just amazing. Over the centuries, people have talked about it, and it's such a fertile place that it's so easy to invest in the earth and economy because it doesn't cost money. It costs water and sunshine and, roots. And so if we're really going to grow from our roots, and I know that you and I, this is what we love each other about the most, is just being that connected to the land. Like we're in the dirt no matter what. Like my hands, I got to fight to be clean, and do things. We put our hands into it. And so we're able to take out of it what we believe we should take. And everyone has the ability to do that. People can run more of their own businesses and stop weighing down other businesses. I love signing kids off on their licenses and being like, hey, you don't need you to work for me anymore. Fly, baby bird, fly. And people want to know what it's like to pay bills. People want to understand what it takes to run a business. I have, tools and things people want to borrow them or rent them. It's just like, guys, do you understand just the overhead I have just to have you in the building? Like we know there's so much there. And how do we really move money around in a more efficient way? And probably a lot of it is keeping it out of the government's hand as much as you can and letting them streamline it. The government should be nonprofit. There should be government assistance so that you could take extra help when you need it. And that's where a lot of the resources and conservation just because we're trying to go.
Government is
right?
nonprofit. They get to move it wherever they want.
Yeah.
That's
so the corruption, like you said, is run rampant. People are not taking social accountability for their actions.
Nothing.
They're letting their kids burn down buildings and shit. Like it's really a problem, what is happening with communities. And that's the problem. You want to talk about what it is? It's community to community. If you guys can pull yourself together, if you can live the village way, you're going to have a village life, you know, and that's the thing where like simplicity is king. You want to look at beautiful economies in the world. You know, my family comes from like Sicily and Italy, and like what a place that is invested in their, you know, agriculture, in their economies for hundreds and hundreds of years at once. And so many other older places where, you know, those things have lived, like 10,000 years of seed collecting, or, you know, having things made. Like, when do you eat tomatoes? In tomato season. When do you have, you know, basil and sardines? You eat when you eat, you know, in that seasonality. And that's what I'm saying. If we're literally going to pick what was here, we won't even have to buy as much stuff from you. You can have less stuff on your shelf and give us the things we really need that need to get trucked around, and we use our resources smartly. But if people want to complain and just drive every day and drive a freaking Hummer or something on the beach, it's like, bro, that lifestyle isn't viable. Get out of my fucking state with that lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, I just think if you're not going to be competent and accountable for what you're doing, then we're always going to have problems. And that's why the government says they need more, because, oh, people aren't doing it. But I felt when I would do projects and I would have signage, it would help a ton more if you were able to police people with education. Instead of put a sign that says keep out. People are going to be like, what do you mean keep out? I've been going in this oak grove for, you know, decades and whatever it was. But if you said, hey, this is a revegetation project, there's a bunch of baby plants in here. If you step on them, you're going to kill it. You know, this is put together by this National Estuary Program and these groups. Like, you can actually put education, and then only 10% of the people are going to live to mess it up. So 10% like to lead, 80% of the people like to follow, and 10% live to mess it up. That's how life is. You have to take that balance, and we got to make something out of it. How do we get the right people into government? I mean, that's such a huge question to answer right now. And look, we have statewide, nationally, like it's a gnar.
We can't even look at government right now, because I'm just saying most people's homes are in disarray. People can't, and the thing is how do we ever
start at home?
Yes. How do people even look at government right now when they don't have balance at home?
Yeah. If you point the finger, three are pointing back at you.
And it's crazy because like every group that I've been in the last couple of weeks, in the middle of the week, there was one group that was the full moon. We had a full moon gathering on Tuesday night. Last Tuesday night was a worm moon, right? So they said we had a fun group. Those were most of the Cal Poly kids, but there was this next group. I even had more Cal Poly kids, and they were just. You
had a fire? Or
no, I did a growing food with nature course for young kids. You know, it's sad, Josh, and
That's a great age to teach. I love that.
But they were like 22, 23, 24, 25. Right? And there's a group of them that are like, can't believe they've gone through Cal Poly this whole time and they've never really been able to even just grow a garden. Right? Okay. So they reached out and they wanted to learn. Like, they want to understand what regenerative is.
Beautiful.
And they want to.
So they're at the ranch.
But Josh, let me tell you what we ended up doing more first was teaching and talking about eating. I am shocked how many 20-year-olds don't know
where food comes from.
It's not the fact of where food comes from. They don't know, like they go to the grocery store, right? Or they go to farmer's market. There's always the same things, right? There's always, and it's like, what do I eat? What,
big chicken.
Like the famous saying, what's for dinner, right? Like it's like there's.
The answer is beef.
The biggest thing is like they don't, like, they're like, okay, so I can't have everybody knows their food allergies or their what they, you know, what they're not supposed to eat, what they're supposed to eat, or oh, isn't this toxic? Oh, isn't this, I'm not supposed to eat this. I'm not, you know, like they all know that, but they don't know what to eat. Like, it was crazy because I'm like, okay, so what's your average meal? Some of them did breakfast and most of them didn't. Most of them had a little snack in between and then had big dinners.
Some know how to cook and some don't, probably.
Most of them did not know how to cook.
My kids know how to cook. That's probably one of the saving graces.
Most of them did not. Like, and to me, cooking is like grabbing something whole, breaking it down, and prepping it. It's
knowing how to make a protein, veg, and a starch out of anything you can find.
Yeah, we started talking about sourdough. They didn't understand the concept of sourdough. And Miguel, I'm going to use you as an example. Like, you know, we've literally given this poor guy a crash course on vegetables, right? Oh, yeah. But at the same time, he's grown up close to his mom who cooks, and still like, you know, what is this? What, you know, like, what do you eat? How do you eat this? You know, what am I supposed to be making? What is health food? Like,
how to get at Whole Foods more when you wouldn't see them for a generation. How about the fact that I had
to explain to people that if you pay sales tax in California on a product, it is not a food-based product. It is a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that none of them even realized that? Then I also had
They
to
know
teach.
that food wasn't taxed.
They didn't, only in the state of California. There's other states that charge tax on fresh food. California still does
They're
not
like, we took
charge-
enough. Please have fresh food.
California still...
See, we got that going for us. That's what we eat, dude.
So California right now still does not charge tax for fresh
Or
food.
plants. If you buy food plants, I know at the nurseries, I don't pay sales tax on that either.
Well, that just, if you get Maria from the State Board of Equalization, she'll sit out there and argue with you on a dormant fruit tree and say, how is this not taxable? This is a plant. And I said, this is an apple tree. Apples, we don't charge tax on apples. And she's like, when I got audited a couple years ago,
taxes
I'm
on
like,
taxes,
she's
bro,
like,
on
there's no
taxes.
reason why you're not charging tax on this. I'm like, that is all food out there. And she's like,
that's like getting somebody from the DMV or something going, hey, you see that parked car you haven't driven in 2 years? How is that not taxable with the registration?
no, they don't give any more
Well, you got a
ideas,
P&L.
really, because that's still there was a huge push. It was like 4 years ago. Huge push for the state sales tax audit. We all got hit around here. They all wanted to know where, what we were charging sales tax. And I get letters every week about, if you serve heated food, you're supposed to charge tax.
Yes.
If you heat it and cool it, I don't have to charge tax because it's grab and go. So yeah, see, look I just taught you something. So
Like, what
just
temperature was that?
Eat your food
Can
cold.
I get
You
an
won't pay
apple?
tax.
What temperature was your apple?
Heated, cooled or heated and kept?
Heated, cooled, and kept to resell.
So, like, if you froze it again,
I
or you-
manufacture it in the kitchen.
Yeah.
If they don't take it fresh,
put
I
it
put it in a container, and I put
Fridge or freezer?
in a refrigerator.
Okay.
I don't have
In your
to
freezer, you sell
yeah.
stuff out of your freezer.
Yeah, and it's frozen. So yeah, so see, this is what I could not talk. See what I'm trying to explain to you. People are leaving. People are lost. Things are unbalanced because we don't have basics. Like there's all this regulation and cost, yes, but people don't. We can't change it because home grounded part is oblivion to most people now. Like this is what I'm saying. I did not.
People have
teach,
become dumber, yeah.
I did not teach
It's like
garden.
the
It's not,
movies.
I don't think
Yeah,
they're
they-
dumber. I think it's the fact they've never been
one
taught.
word for it. It's one word for it.
They have never been taught. Our school systems are horrible. But
That's what I want to say. Everything that's been talking about, all I keep thinking about is teach the kids. And then they grow into this.
Yeah, they take up the.
But this is what I'm saying. Like,
put down
I wasn't
in
even
front of
able to
them.
teach gardening to this group. This was a fun group. I mean, I've gotten so many text messages and love from this group, right? But at the same time, I'm shocked that I spent the whole entire time talking about food because you know what started the conversation like this? As I said, okay, before we start talking about gardening, you guys need to give me a list, write me a list right now of what we're going to grow that you're going to eat. I am not going to teach you how to grow something and it's going to hang out in your garden and waste soil nutrients and water if you're not going to eat it, right?
Or share it.
what is in your, the concept was feeding yourself from
Yeah,
your
okay,
garden.
what's in your diet?
Okay, but yeah, so I'm like, what do you guys averagely eat? What can we cut out of your grocery bill and put it in your garden, right? Like this is how I start my garden classes off, right? And because I mean, somebody's not going to get. Yeah, because I am.
Though, right?
So
Well, no, I mean, you
don't
gotta
want
know-
people to promote waste. I am not going to promote just to do it. I admire with plants if they just do it. Most of the time, it's going to heal the soil. It's going to give my bees nectar. I get gratitude on that.
It's not a total
but
waste.
It's not a total waste. But my concept with people is I don't want them to waste their money. I don't want to waste.
Commodify it,
I don't want
yeah.
them to waste resources.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to feel inundated. I don't want to feel overwhelmed because they're not me. They're not going to need, 200 acres to keep planting things because I know back in the
Well, that's why
1800s
nature-
there was, natives
Yeah.
there and I'm replanting them in certain areas. They don't need to be that. Not everybody is going to look at it like I am. But that conversation from that group started, and it was sad because a lot of them didn't want to talk about it and then I started realizing, holy crap, we have a lot of people that have food dyslexia, food disorders. I'm like, you're not eating that much? You know what I mean? They snack. They don't eat.
Well, they don't know what they can eat. I mean, I had gluten-free
They're
kids
afraid.
and gluten-free girlfriends and
Yes.
things, but it's like my menus, I set them up where it's like, the same thing with protests. I want to know what you're against. I want to know what you're for. With food, it's like, don't tell me what you can eat. Tell me what you can eat. So on my menu, it's like
They don't
you're gonna
know,
have
Josh.
They can. They know if they can eat wheat. They know if they can't eat wheat. You know, so it's like if you put it in Whole Foods.
How about this girl's mom? She was cracking me up. She goes, well, my mom was telling me because she was celiac, I must have been celiac. And I'm like, okay, so is she really celiac? Like, you know, and I'm like, because your mom is one of my #1 sourdough buyers. Like that, you know? Because I'm like, I'm like, your mom has been buying my sourdough bread. She goes, I know, Melanie, because your sourdough bread is the only one that she could eat. So she's not celiac because it's wheat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so are you celiac?
She's super sensitive.
She goes, I realized I wasn't celiac or eating gluten-free during COVID. And I'm like, what made you decide during COVID? She goes, well, we couldn't get gluten-free bread at Trader Joe's anymore. My mom accidentally brought regular bread home, and I ate it, and I didn't get sick. And I was like, oh my goodness. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, that was also a conversation that we were having. I'm like, wait a minute, was your mom really diagnosed with being celiac? Because I'm like, I am not going to sell her my sourdough bread anymore if she's really celiac.
She's you know? Her,
yeah. And she's like, no, Melanie, she knows.
I didn't know it was genetic like that.
I'm like, she can't, do you know what it is? She can't break down in her tummy all the additive ingredients, all the
that's mostly
stuff.
What U.S. wheat is,
And mine's just fresh wheat. That's all, you know, and sourdough starter, salt, honey, and water. You know?
See, that's where we got to start. And like, if people can't eat whole things, and like I said, even to know, like right now, we have chanterelles on our menu because that's where it comes up right now. Mm-hmm. So the hills will even tell you what there is to eat. You know, the bears, animals know what there is to eat. That's how people first learn. And we're kind of at that place again of like, how do we learn to eat in our places we live? And that's going to keep a lot of those resources localized and shared in the right way.
There's a lot of people that it scares because they don't even know how to shop a grocery store to eat fresh food. Like,
so food is one of the #1 ways where we could, like we said, it's the building block that we're going to repair our society on is how do we get food and what do we do, you know, with food? Those are all we'd spend our life doing. We're selling it all day, then you eat it to survive.
That's all I was going with Bakersfield. It's like, if we actually grew more fresh food, maintained the infrastructures that were there, and actually took all the knowledge that we've had for the last 50 years, we can build it back. No matter what destruction humans have done to the earth, we can fix it.
The planet is so vast.
It's not going to be the way that it was. And what I'm also saying,
that's what I said. It's going to be different.
We have oil infrastructure. We have electric. We have all this knowledge.
We have fuel. We have our resources here.
Why are we paying what we're paying and doing what we're doing when we could have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it doesn't need to be.
That's because we're not our own country, like I said.
One size fits all.
We are feeding into the rest of the country, which is sort of a maggot on our back.
We can't fix any of that when we can't get people to calm their jets at home. And it's as basic as these people want to garden because they you know, went to Cal Poly and wanted to have an ag major, and they wanted to be in horticulture. They wanted to learn about plants because they did field trips in high school, and it just stimulated them. That's where they want to be, right? But you cannot have a garden if you don't know how to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you're already going to know what food is and what to do with it.
And then kale, chard. I was like...
That's why I love to garden and cook, because it's the same thing.
I could not believe how many Cal Poly students did not know that cabbage and kale were related.
Wow. Brassicaceae, they don't even know like the whole brassica family and stuff?
No. And that's what I'm trying to explain
to you. That's pretty basic knowledge for a gardener. I'm saying as a gardener, you'll learn that, right? Now they know.
Yeah, but now they know. But so this is what I'm saying.
But if they see it, if you feed people better.
From this point on now, I know.
You guys should have some on Fridays.
We have to. We have to start talking about.
Has to have a lesson.
Okay. About food.
Today
because
brought to you by cabbage.
Because I was like, I was shocked. I'm honestly shocked. And then, you know, we talked about peanut allergies, how this whole generation have not eaten peanuts.
They're afraid of death.
You know, how about, you know, almonds?
You can't even bring them to school or something because you'll kill a neighbor.
Now the biggest thing, they're not going to eat almonds because too many people have told them they use too much water. So they don't want to eat almonds because it's destroying the earth, because they're taking too much water.
I thought it was because of the nightshade family stuff.
And I'm like,
it has too much.
This is what I'm telling you. There's too much out there for our youth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to simplify our home turf. We need to be better.
Yeah, eat what grows here naturally.
Home.
Go get mushrooms right now. Get
Josh,
everything.
where are they going to go get mussels?
The beach. Right where we were swimming yesterday.
Right here.
That one got muscles.
See, look at, tell him he acts like he's literally using the example
Every day
of
you
what
go to
I'm
the
trying
beach,
to talk
you
about.
can get muscles.
He talks up here, needs to be down here because most people don't understand that because they haven't seen it the way you and I
what's
have
the
seen
answer
it.
to do it is to feed people better. If we start feeding people better, they will feel better, think better, be better, and they'll know the value of that basic thing. That's the thing. If you can understand the stuff that doesn't cost money, because money doesn't grow on trees, food does. If we can understand food, our people can do anything. And if we study over, the millennial of all the rise and falls of empires, I mean, it's around how do you distribute your resources? And that's the point we're
I
at.
have an experiment. You know how they like feed the homeless, but like they go buy pizza, they go buy.
They have a soup kitchen.
Why not? Why not do something fresh?
That's what majority of them. That's kind of what I was talking about.
They have restaurants where the homeless can come and work and cook. Cook for money and eat.
And that's kind of what we're another group is what we're working on right now is everything. This really cool girl that I'm working with, she's kind of putting herself out there just to go out and help neighbors grow food on their own property. Mm-hmm. She wants to get dirty, so she's growing food. Now I'm teaching her all the excess of what we can do with it. We're gonna, teach people sampling of what the excess is. But then there's also, the Atascadero food kitchens and different churches that provide meals that we're gonna walk in with our stuff and teach them. Because I'll be honest with you, for the last couple of years, I've been working at a lot of these. I worked with Glean Slow for years.
Yeah, putting money back or food back into
And there's a lot of stuff that, because their volunteers didn't show up at the right time to prep that food. That didn't get utilized the way that it needs to. So everything is about timing, right? But at the same time, when we have a huge amount of citizens in this county that don't know how to eat, okay? They don't know. It's like chicken strips and potato chips or Mojos from the market. Like, we have a society. That's how they've been raised.
Some of them, but I mean, that's why I said you have no excuse in SLO County, because when you go to the beach, you're standing right by the mussels. Like, you could get your fishing license and you can 110 pounds a day per person. I mean, we did that for New Year's.
I think that he would scare him, but at the same time, I'm inviting the ones that don't.
But you got to start somewhere. You got to start with baby steps. Yeah, and you can't go from.
I know from a fact from
I worked at West
this
Oakland
one group. I am super excited because a gardening group turned into a food group, and it turned into that out of something super exciting. And one of the participants actually really talked about, how her generation of. The word organic and gluten-free and all this stuff. And she said it gives her anxiety to the point where she won't even eat.
Jesus.
And that's anorexia.
That's scary.
And so that is what...
But our food system looks like that nowadays. And we're that far removed from knowing where to go get a carrot.
Is local right? Or if I buy it from here, I shop here and not here. And that's
why growing your food, you would know better, like what's a good price and what's that. Like my brother made all these lettuce wraps out of his garden the other day because I went to his house. I was like, bro, you got like enough lettuce to or feed the restaurant.
So we're at our time because you talk too much.
That's me. That's what you invited me here for.
We are
love
back
you now.
next week
Love all you guys.
This one doesn't get sick again.
I'll get better.
Reach out, guys. Thank you to my groups this week. We had a blast, and now we're moving forward with more. So take care.